Hello everyone and welcome back to Era Military Collectibles. So in today's video we are doing a video on the D-Day landings as an anniversary. I don't specifically have an item from D-Day that I can definitely say in the collection that was at D-Day or in Normandy. But I do have this book. Now this book was brought out in association with the Imperial War Museum by Richard Holmes. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Holmes. And it covers the invasion all the way to the liberation of Paris. So a couple of myths that we're going to talk about here is D-Day. So D-Day itself, the 6th of June 1944, all military operations have the designation D-Day, and it's the start of an operation. So you can have D-Day -1 or D-Day +1, which is the day before and the day after the operation. So all military operations will have a D-Day. That's even to today's standard or today's operations, you will have a D-Day, which is the start of an operation. As I said, you can have D-Day -1 or D-Day +1, which is the day before or the day after. 6th of June 1944 is what we're talking about here. So this book comes with this little sleeve, so I have it taken off here to get ready for the actual book itself, and this is the actual book. Now this book itself comes with reproduction documents and things like that, and it goes, as it says on the cover, it goes from the invasion all the way to the liberation of Paris. Now these books are very, very good for when you're putting up an impression, or you're looking for something for a talk or whatever, with the photos and things like that, because of, obviously, they were there at the time. Photos are very, very important. So here we have the back of what is probably a Dakota, and we have troops ready to go. Now whether this was taken before D-Day or whether it was taken to a training mission beforehand, I don't know, but they're very, very good for finding out information. You see this lad here smoking a cigarette. He's got a grease gun, M1 Garands, the famous Corcoran boots, and things like that. See, these guys have, I'd say, they're rank markings on their helmets, which they later got rid of. So yeah, as I said, this book comes with reproduction documents and stuff. In here it actually has a CD that gives you accounts from veterans. I haven't only listened to half of it, I haven't listened to it all. Contents of the book and the introduction into the D-Day as a landmark in history. So the planning of D-Day. D-Day was being planned for absolutely ages. I think it was about 2 years before it actually kicked off, of what actually happened on the 6th of June 1944. In here we have a reproduction document from Montgomery about what he reckoned needed to be carried out and what needed to be done before the actual operation took place. Here you have the Supreme Council with Dwight D. Eisenhower in the middle, Montgomery at one side, and other generals. So the beaches that were assaulted were the main beaches that were assaulted. There was other operations that happened, as I said, in D-Day. D-Day was the initial start of the operation, but it actually started the night before, but we'll get to that in a few minutes later on in the book. So you had Omaha, Utah, Sword, Gold and Juno were the 5 main beaches that were being assaulted by Canadians and British. Utah and Omaha were the Americans, and the others were the British and Canadians. Here again you have the leadership, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Montgomery, commander of the ground forces, supreme commander of the European theatre, shall we say, was Montgomery. Or sorry, was Eisenhower. Montgomery was commander of the land forces. Here on this book then as well you have the command structure. So you have the President of the United States, Roosevelt, and Winston Churchill, Prime Minister. If you look, their 2 main streams narrows down into one. Here you have Dwight D. Eisenhower, and then below him you have Montgomery. They nearly held the same rank as each other, nearly held the same command, and then they off went into their armies and different support units and stuff like that. Look at that compared to the Germans. What an absolute mess. To try and get command structure, or who they were answering to, or who were getting their orders from, whereas this is very, very simple. so the German forces were fed a bit of a ruse. They believed that the attack, or the landings into what was then occupied France, was going to come from here, which was the shortest point across the channel to reach mainland France, when actually the attack took place down here. That's the Normandy coastline, along here. You had a lot of deception in place. You had the fictitious army that the Allies set up in the UK for spies and for planes. They had blow up tanks. They had set up tented villages. They did everything and anything to show that there was troops concentrating in this area to go across the shortest distance to mainland France. You can see here that the Germans fell for the trap, and they had most of their defences was set up along that area. When you get down into the Normandy coast, it's not as defended as this area. There was a famous account where through the SOE and through Special Forces there was a body that washed ashore on mainland France with documents and stuff like that to say that this was what was happening, that this is where they were going to be attacked. The Allies, or the Germans, fell for the ruse, and they put their troops in different areas. Here we go. Deception and intelligence, obviously. As I said, this has a reproduction map. I'm not going to open it. It's huge. It shows where that the Germans had fell for the plan, and that they were concentrating their defences on the shortest route across the channel. SOE and the resistance. So the SOE and the resistance had been prepping for absolute ages before the invasion took place. Now you have the famous broadcasting that were happening on the BBC to tell the underground resistance. There were code with messages of what they were to do and what they were to attack and stuff like that. Now, SOE had parachuted in agents along with the SAS, along with the American intelligence organization. Had parachuted in agents way before. I think up to 3 weeks some of the SAS operations were already going ahead before the D-Day operation took place. And they were there to cut rail lines, as you can see here. Cut rail lines, disturb communications, as much mayhem as they possibly could cause behind the lines before the actual D-Day landings took place. Now, so D-Day happened on the 6th of June. Well, it didn't. It did and it didn't. So the main operation took place on the 6th of June. The night before, so you're talking the night of the 5th and the 6th, Pegasus Bridge had already been taken. Pegasus Bridge was the first, shall we say, hot part of the attack, where you had the Oxen Bucks attack and capture the bridge here. Right? 6th of June, you can take it, because I think they landed, they took off on the 5th and they landed on the 6th, so I suppose it's true enough. Now, the pilots of these, one glider went missing. It actually ended up in the canal back here, but the pilots of these landed them bang on straight onto the actual canal. If any of you have been here now at the Pegasus Bridge, which is right here, this is where the Airborne Museum is, over here on this key face. So this is the main road. And so they literally landed within feet of the bridge. Famously, they ran across the bar that they liberated would be at this side of the bridge, and there was a hotel or a hospital way back here that they believed had the main reinforcements to take the bridge. So Pegasus Bridge was actually the first battle of D-Day, and it was the first soil of France that had been liberated. Here we go to the US airborne assault. So they landed into Saint-Mary-Glise, they landed into other places, but their drops went everywhere and anywhere. So they were literally fighting for nearly, I think some of the airborne forces did not manage to get to their units within the first 4 or 5 days. They were just fighting everywhere across northern France, causing absolute mayhem until they actually got to where they were. Utah Beach, which was an American beach. The 4th Infantry Division were the first unit to attack it. Lots of stuff. There you go. There's Roosevelt Jr. He managed to get his Congressional Medal of Honor on Utah Beach. Pictures from Utah Beach. Utah wasn't as bad as Omaha, which should be here somewhere. Omaha was known as Bloody Omaha. It was an absolute bloodbath. Pointe-du-Hoc was actually where Rangers, 2nd Ranger Battalion, right there, they ascended a cliff face because they believed there was an artillery position here that was going to fire either this way towards Utah or this way towards, Omaha was that way, Utah was this way, that they could fire either side. So Pointe-du-Hoc had to be taken. When they got there, they actually realised that the guns had been moved further south, and it was patrols from the 2nd Rangers later on that day that actually cleared the guns. So there you go. So here we have Omaha, Bloody Omaha. Omaha was attacked by the 1st Infantry Division. A veteran unit, actually. The 1st Infantry Division had already fought in North Africa, so they were actually a veteran unit that suffered an awful lot of casualties. I'm trying to... men landed here... men landed 34,250 and they received 3,000 casualties. When you compare that to Utah, where 23,000 landed, casualties, dead, wounded and missing 200. So the chalk and cheese, really, of what happened. Gold Beach was the 50th Infantry Division, the British 50th Infantry Division. How many landed? 24,970 with 400 casualties. And then you have Juno. I believe Juno had French as well attack it. 21,500. They suffered 1,000 casualties. Juno was the British's most deadliest beach. And then you have Sword. So Sword had 28,845 and they received 630 casualties. So they were the beaches. They were the beaches that were assaulted. Then you had follow-up operations. So when they started going in, so you have the bocage, which was the hedgerows outside of. As the troops advanced into France, you had the bocage region, which is really big hedgerows, really thick hedgerows, and it's a friggin' defender's paradise. Tanks were getting butchered, soldiers were getting butchered. They were running into ambush after ambush after ambush in the bocage region. Mulberry and Pluto and Mulberry were the two ports, two harbours that were actually brought across. Mulberry Harbour being the famous one, and Pluto I think was the operation, or I'm not 100% sure. It just says Mulberry's in use. So they came into use in the 12th of June and they were damaged on the 28th of November. And when they were in use, vehicles landed was 45,000, tons of stores landed was 628,000, and personnel landed 231,000. So very important part of the operation were the Mulberry Harbours. Still there today, still visible, not 100%. You can still see these concrete plinths that they sunk for the operation. And then you have Operation Epsom, and these were different operations which would have had D-Days as well. So like they could have classified the Operation Epsom, the 24th of June, that could have been the D-Day for that operation. It went on to the 30th, where they were pushing forward through the bocage. Operation Chinwood or Crenwood. Here you have a bit about the medics. and their use, the Battle of Saint-Lô, which was another heavily fortified German area, because they had actually were running up from Vichy French. I think it was the SS, one of the SS Panzers groups, famously were attacked on the way by French resistance, and the next village or next town they took, they flattened it, massacred a lot of people in there, and it's still there to this day. Actually, I'd love to actually go see it, but that was involved in that operation. Sorry, so yeah, we've more operations. Goodwood. Next operation was Cobra. Tactical air support operations. Operations in the area. See, here's another reproduction document. I think this is a ID book. Is that Wittmann? He's SS anyway. I need to look at it. But Kurt Panzer Muller, so that he was a tank race. And then we get on to the liberation of Paris. So the Battle of Paris was from the 19th of August to the 25th of August. So they'd landed in June, July, August by the time they got to Paris. So it wasn't just the one day that people think about. It was a continuation, a very continuation of a battle. I'm going to find some here. So as I said, so these are the reproduction documents that are in this book. That's flight manifest, or a logbook, pilot's flying logbook. There's one here somewhere, aircraft guide. Where's the one that I'm looking for? This one. So this one has little maps in it. So there you go. So 2nd Panzer, 3rd Para. So these are 47 Panzer Corps. So this shows you where the units were trying to push up to stop them. Enemy order of battle, Normandy, from, what's the date on it? 30th of June. So this is where they had basically tried to stop the Allies from moving forward, and it shows you what groups were used. So basically, if I can show you on this map, so the Allies came in, they took this area here, fought into Caen. Caen is right there. So once they had Caen, there's actually a river that goes along here, so they had controlled all this area, and then they basically shut across, cut this off to cut off Cherbourg, which was a port, to bring in their own more equipment. And once they had Cherbourg, they started slowly pushing down this way, and basically in a wheel, and started turning this way back towards Paris. So that's a quick way of telling you how the battle progressed. So there are the main beaches. So the beaches were here, they pushed down this way. Le Havre is there, which is another port. They swung back this way towards Paris, cut off Cherbourg, advanced back into Cherbourg, and cut it off to get the port. Germans heavily damaged Cherbourg before they left it. So there you go. Just a quick, nice, interesting little book. It just goes to show you that D-Day wasn't just the one-day battle. Yes, they landed on the 6th of June. So here you have 3rd of July to the 19th of July, which was the Battle of Saint-Lô, all the way up until August before they took Paris. So there you go. So I hope you like what we provide here at Aerat Military Collectibles. Please like, please subscribe, and please tune in for the next video. And as always, if you want to get in contact with the channel, there's an email at the top of the video description. And if you would like to contribute to the channel, there's also an Amazon wish list. So thank you very much.